Okay, I think we can start. So again, good afternoon, everyone. This is the last session for today, so it is never easy. But I find it very fitting because what we're going to discuss is effectively the foundational technologies for all of what we have discussed today. So I'm Vincenzo Renda. I'm Director for Digital Transformation Policy at Digital Europe. And this last session is going to be about data centers and chips and what they mean for energy policy and AI ambitions. AI is really foundational to where Europe goes next. We've discussed a lot about the opportunities. We're talking about scientific discovery, faster diagnosis of cancers, smarter energy grids, better public services. There are many. But I think it's important to remind ourselves that it's not just some weightless, magical solution. It runs not just on ambition, but on physical infrastructure. So that is what we're going to discuss today. I think we've already discussed several times about the tech sovereignty package. We have CADA looking at tripling data center capacity in Europe. We have also the CHIPS Act, which is all about strengthening Europe's semiconductor base. We also have a roadmap on digital and AI for energy applications. So we're going to unpack all of this together. And I think I have really the best makeup of a panel here because you're all coming from different perspectives. And what I would like to understand at the end is really a shared understanding of what we need to do together to tackle existing challenges and identify opportunities. So I will introduce speakers on stage. We have Stavros Athanasiou Kalafatis, Deputy Minister of Development for Greece. We have Manuel Mateo Guaye, who is Head of Unit for Cloud and Software at DG Connect of the European Commission. We have Adèle Naudy-Chambaud, who is Vice President, EU Government Affairs at Schneider Electric. And then we have Audrey Scozzaro-Ferrazzini, who is Managing Director, MVP for Government Affairs, EMEA at Qualcomm. So I want to kick off this discussion. We have about 40 minutes, 35, 40 minutes. And we have 4 speakers, so I'm going to be the timekeeper here. And I also encourage if you want to jump in and share your comments on what others have said, please feel free to do so. I would like to start with you, Minister. And I would like really to understand from you what value you see in data centers for Greece's economy and what Greece is doing to attract data center investments.
Yes. Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to thank you for the invitation. And I think that the presence of Greece here shows 1 year before assuming the Greek presidency of the Council of the EU in 2027, actually sends a clear message that our country is actively present in co-shaping technological developments in Europe and institutionally preparing for our common challenges. And in recent years, Greece he did great improvement as far as the willing that my government showed regarding the vital role of the new technologies are going to play in the next years. What we did so far is that we did our investments in research and innovation have increased actually by nearly 70% since 2018, proving that applied research, which is quite critical for us, is the catalyst for tomorrow's digital infrastructure. With a coordinated national strategy, we have already invested more than 300 million euros to upgrade our research centers, and this is something, again, very critical for the future. And to strengthen our ecosystem with 20,000 new high-skilled jobs over the last few years, which is the antidote, our response, our practical response to the brain drain issue, something that many countries really are facing. So if we would like to answer to the question, what builds what and why Europe and how can we attract investments, not only in data centers, but generally whatever it's concerned, it is close with the new technologies. Greece's answer is the creation of a unified, comprehensive national network of technological infrastructure. we realized that we have different components of the ecosystem that they are doing a great job, but individually. We have the universities, we have the research centers, we have startups, we have many entrepreneurs that would like to invest in new technologies. Every sector did a great job, but the problem was the coordination, actually. They didn't really work together. They didn't have an administrator, a coordinator that can do the job. So what we do over the last few years is to bring together all those components, the stakeholders of the ecosystem, in order to work for a very comprehensive target. And at the end, and I'm closing with that, we're trying and we're creating a new ministry, actually, we're working on that. So after the next elections in Greece will be in a few months from now, we're going to have a new ministry and the higher education, research centers, the startup community and innovation will be under one umbrella in order to have this comprehensive strategy and plan on tracks even more effectively.
Thank you very much. And I would like now to bring the point of view from the industry here. And Adele, I would like to start with you now. I mentioned just before the EU pushes to triple data center capacity under CADA. What are the biggest practical bottlenecks you see from a Schneider Electric's point of view, and what do you think should be done to address those?
Thank you, Vincenzo. And first, we support very much the proposal to triple the data center capacity in Europe with very ambitious objective in the 5-7 years. It's a big opportunity, but it's also a risk if we don't manage to catch up, and we've been hearing a lot before. The reality is Europe has, in average, 4-5% of the cloud computing power, while it represents 20% of the global economy. So here, we really need to step up to make sure we up to the level and to the challenge. The way we see it at Schneider Electric is it's not about algorithm, it's not about the innovation ecosystem. It's about the physical infrastructure, which is becoming the main bottleneck in Europe for data centers. I mean, we know all the figures on the permitting. It's up to 5-7 years. If you add to that the grid connection, in average, 2 best case scenario, up to 10 years, it takes time. So speed is a major element. And on top of that, coming also from the grid side, we have a very aging electricity grid in Europe. 40% of the electricity grids is more than 40 years. And we know we need 1.2 trillion investment by 2030. So that's a bit the challenges Europe is faced with. And how we can flip that? What are the solutions? What we want to see is, and that's also what we were very pleased to see in the CADA, is to move from a reactive to a proactive planning approach when it comes to data centers as a way to really accelerate. And it comes to mapping in advance where you can have faster permitting processes, where you can have faster grid connection. That means that public authorities have to be involved, have to support in identifying those areas where we can accelerate. There's some positive examples. As a French company, I will take the example of France, where with system operators, they've been work to identify 60 areas where you can have faster connection, faster permitting, and also on the acceptance being on the social and also environmental aspect, and also number of sites, 5 on to have fast track to be connected to the high voltage, to the transmission level. And we see that very positively because it helps to accelerate. The other thing I'd like to mention is how we can not only look at greenfield, but also brownfield. You have a number of existing sites installation where you already have the grid connection, and that can be reused for data centers project. And two last points on my side, as well on the grid connection. So that was in the grid package, moving from first arrived, first served to first ready, first mature is really the way forward. So there's guidance from the Commission. We really hope it's going to be implemented at member state level, because we do have a lot of zombie projects which are getting these queues also longer. And third, it's very important as well to ease this pressure on the grid and on the grid connection with investment in the grid modernization. We know we'll need more grids, build more grids, but also we need to use the grid, existing one, to its maximum capacity. And with digital tools, so Digital Europe has been also making a number of calls there, but it's looking at the two aspects, not only on the end use and data centers, but also on the grid aspect and how we can accelerate its modernization.
Thank you very much, Adele, for these points. I would like now to move to you, Audrey. In this discussion around data center build-outs, there's a debate, and we've also heard today, about who should own and operate Europe's data center infrastructure as it scales. Qualcomm is obviously a critical player in the tech stack. It's not a European operator. So how do you see your role in this more sovereign European data center ecosystem?
Thanks, Vincenzo, for the question. So I'm going to say first, I think Qualcomm is a European player. We are a US company acting globally across the world. And Qualcomm can be a French company, Qualcomm can be a Belgian company, Qualcomm can be, anything. But I think we are all interconnected. Talking about the sovereignty piece, I think it's an important discussion, and it's a discussion that is evolving, and it requires a level of sophistication. When we talk about sovereignty, it's how it's governed, where it is located, how resilient it is, and how open the technology stack is. And I know that some of the previous speakers talk about that, but I think this is important. It's a little bit more complex. So we're not an hyperscaler. And we do not operate data centers. So you might ask yourself, why Audrey is here? And because AI is very important for all the players, and Qualcomm is becoming an AI company. And so we do have an important role to play in the technology stack. And especially as well with the growing importance of agentic AI that I'm going to start to develop a little bit more. With the increasing importance in mind, we believe that we have a significant responsibility to ensure that we are properly supporting our European partners, including Schneider, to ensure that our technology are built on open and interoperable standards. So we are providing choice to our partner, and it's going to be very important in the future. And this includes a number of, I'm going to be a little bit techy because it's Digital Europe, okay, but advanced semiconductor and AI inference capabilities. And I'm going to quiz everybody to tell me what is inference, okay? But as well, energy efficient compute technologies and connectivity and network expertise. So that's going to be a very important blend in the future. And we see this as important contribution. Our commitment are going to help to create more choice, more competition across the stack. So we're going to help, and you are not the only one, okay, but to reduce the reliance on closed ecosystem and supporting more resilient, efficient, and diversified digital infrastructure for Europe. To make it more concrete, last week we had an important momentum as at our Investor Day, we launched a full set of new chipsets for data center. And under one brand, which is called the Dragonfly brand. And why I'm mentioning that, talking about efficiency, because we are launching on the market a new CPU, so it's central processor unit, okay, so it's a chipset. But it's going to be very, very powerful with high bandwidth compute. So what it means, it's going to enable high performance inferencing for agentic AI at significant lower power and cost. So just to make, or to ask the question, I'm going to ask the question to Manuel, so you will be able to answer. Can you explain to the room what is the difference between learning and inferencing for data center? Because I guess this is where Europe will have a role to play. I'm changing a little bit. Yeah. On the inferencing.
I can explain.
Yeah.
I'm cutting completely Vincenzo.
I'm getting Vincenzo.
Maybe you can roll it, Sparo, into your answer
but
later.
maybe just to tell you, so the difference between learning and inferencing. Learning is when you go to school and you learn a lot, okay? You go to school, you go to university, you absorb. This is what has happened with the LLM models. The inferencing part is that when you enter into the market and you're going to use all the learning that you have to really answer to the need. And so in the inferencing part, this is where we are seeing a lot of potential business growth opportunities, because that's where data center will make a difference. To finish with, the European approach to initiatives such as the AI Gigafactories, which is based on European leadership and governance, and combined with different partnerships with the ecosystem, as Stavros mentioned, are a good step in the right direction. And we believe that it's going to be very, very important to support the priorities such as the energy-efficient AI infrastructure, the industrial competitiveness, and as well open and startup-based innovation. And I stop.
Thank you very much, Audrey. And now turning to you, Manuel. You've heard already several insights from industry. AI inferencing versus AI training, importance of speed in build-out of data centers. We discussed a lot about CADA today, but I'm very curious to hear from you what you think is the main added value from the European Commission's proposal when it comes to data center capacity.
So thank you, Vincenzo and Audrey, for the question. I think the main added value, my director Thibaut Kleiner earlier this afternoon built the case that it's pro-investment, so I will not repeat his arguments. I think then to your question, I would rather explain the simplification angle. Very often Brussels is criticized by more regulation, makes things more complicated, and here really what the Cloud and AI Development Act is about making life easier. Well, indirectly for Audrey and Adele, but mostly for their clients, so the data center operators and investors, and the people Minister Atanasiov wants to bring to Greece. So it's all about simplification. And a lot of the things that are in the Cloud and AI Development Act, to be frank, could be done even in the absence of regulation. A lot of initiatives at European level, whether the region of Aragon or Sweden, or Adele was mentioning France recently, or the investments some cloud service providers are doing in Greece on data centers, do not fall from the sky. They're the active the fruit of the active involvement of public authorities in attracting those investments. The problem is, and this has been said all afternoon long, is that Europe altogether doesn't have enough capacity. So the provisions on data center in the Cloud and AI Development Act is a bit of a wake-up call to say this tripling of capacity is not a nice, but it's a must. And actually, it's only an intermediary goal into something even bigger, but which is today not. It's today impossible to put a number, so we haven't yet. But in due course, it will come. But it's not the end. I mean, the curve will not flatten out at that moment. I think Audrey's comment on inference and training is very relevant because it points to a number of considerations. First is that Europe hasn't got today the facility to train AI models. Those are huge facilities. If you look at the aerial views of where the big American models have been trained, those are several football field size facilities and often distributed over only a couple of kilometers. It's really gigantic facilities, and Europe doesn't have those facilities. We need them, and we're working on them. But what is really interesting is the perspective of inference, because inference requires a different type of facility. It's not a central big machine, to put it like this. It's more much smaller facilities, much more distributed. How much depends a bit on the application, but you need data centers every, say, at least 100 kilometers, ideally less, but every 100 to 500 kilometers maximum. There's a number of things you can do from Lisbon, pinging a data center in Luleå in northern Sweden. But there's another number of things, in particular AI inference, that you can only do on site. Things like real-time video, AI analysis can only be done with something which is within a few kilometers. And this is useful for medical AI, for fire prevention AI, for entertainment AI in stadiums. There's a whole lot of applications, automated driving, automated energy management. Those things are really needed, and the facilities there are different. So in Europe, it's both a question of increasing as a region our data center capacity, but as well as making sure it is sufficiently distributed for AI inference.
Thank you very much, Manuel, also for addressing Audrey's question. Adele, I would like now to turn to you. We've discussed how this target is not just a nice to have, but it's really a must. We need to attract these investments to build here in Europe these data centers. It also requires to look into the grids and our energy systems. So where do you see the technology today making the biggest difference in terms of reducing the energy footprint of AI factories?
Thank you, Vincenzo, for the question. It's an important one. And so coming from a technology company, so Schneider is pretty unique because it covers the whole data center stack, so from power distribution, cooling, UPS, energy management of data centers that we are providing to support our customers in this field. So I'd like to highlight three main elements, going from the more micro product to the system approach. First, it's about technology and products. I mean, it's a fast evolving environment, and we're trying to innovate, to develop technology, to serve our customers. And we see, for instance, UPS, we've improved considerably the energy efficiency over time to make sure we put the best products for our customer. Second is cooling. We know that with AI data center, and AI workloads increase power density in racks and needs more cooling. So the traditional cooling needs to also move to more innovation, and we've been working also on new innovation. We've actually acquired a company called Motivair, which is offering liquid cooling solutions to hyperscalers, co-locations, and as well high-density data centers environment. One also interesting project and solution we're developing with customers is in Portugal. We have partnered with Start Campus, where we have it, so it's close to the sea, and we've developed cooling with seawater, so also addressing the question of the water usage, and based 100% on renewable. So the more we're moving, the more we're innovating and together with customers to find a sustainable solution, develop innovation to be able to serve the needs. So that's on the product. Then on the data centers as well, one key message is energy efficiency. We need to keep the momentum on energy efficiency because we all know that the cheapest energy is the energy we don't use. And this is still very valid. And here it should apply across the whole stack. And also Audrey was referring to that. We have also a number of software, energy management software to support and to make sure we can run data centers in the more energy efficient way. And then the third aspect is how we can integrate data center into the energy system. So this is a bit a topic that is very much discussed because data centers are no longer energy consumers. but it needs to be fully integrated into the energy system. So there are different technologies. One is how they can self-generate, self-consume, and having storage. We have also solution AI-powered microgrids, which are also helping our customers, and also to increase their resilience. The whole topic of waste heat recovery, because it generates a lot of heat. So how we can also reuse that, being in neighborhood, in district, we have some projects in British University where actually we've been having a data center close to the university and student homes where the waste heat is reused to heat for the heating and for the water. And last and very important also are how data centers can be grid assets, offers grid services, and because we know that we'll need to have a much more flexible energy system in light of the challenges, more distributed energy resources and so on. So we had some projects as well in Denmark where UPS system have been used to provide services for frequency stabilization, showing also what's possible and how. So this is a moving, I would say, discussion, and where we see that we need we can support with the technologies that Schneider Electric can provide.
Thanks very much, Adele, for your answer. Audrey, now moving to you, and in this case, it's from a silicon, I would say, a system design perspective. What's the biggest opportunity to cut the energy intensity of AI workloads as new capacity comes online? And maybe also looking further ahead, how do you see the relationship between networks and data centers evolving? And again, also there, what's the role of energy efficient compute in terms of meeting this demand?
So that's a complex question, okay? But thanks for the question. So I think where Qualcomm is coming from, and I think that's important to present the way we look at energy efficiency. So we're coming from the mobile world, where basically now it seems like a droit acquis that you have a phone and you have good network and a good battery. It required a lot of effort to have this. And because we have this knowledge along many players in the industry, we can port this knowledge now into more like the inference world. And it's going to be a combination of a lot of effort. But before I deep dive in the tech part, let me tell you that I think energy efficiency should be a shared goal for all of us, public sector, private sector. We need to make sure that, we have the electricity we need, not just for data center, it's very important and it will create growth, but as well to have energy for everybody. So we need to be very creative in how, we're going to make sure that we have the energy necessary to continue to function. And I'm not saying that as a statement, but there are countries that are saying we don't want more data center, okay? If we have to pick and choose, we prefer to serve our citizens. So it's a real problem for policymakers. But to tell you a little bit on this holistic approach, for us, it's a combination of silicon, system design, and workload management. I'm going to be very brief on the 3 points. On the first one, we need more efficient AI compute, particularly for inference, as I mentioned. And so we're moving from a performance per watt to, I would say, to a total cost of ownership. So the less you're going to consume on energy, the better you're going to invest. And this, requires as well to have much more energy efficient chipset. And we're going to see a lot of innovation in this field. The second point is on memory and data movement that can really help as well. Not everything, as Manuel mentioned, needs to go to the cloud all the time. For certain things, definitely yes, you might need to go to Lule from Spain, but not for everything. So a significant portion of energy consumption is still coming from moving data from one place to another one. So the less you can do on that, the better you can as well make some saving in energy. As well, we are seeing a lot of development in memory architecture that will help improve bandwidth and efficiency at lower power level. The third point is simply easy, better distribution of workload. So not all the workload will need to be processed in the data center. It's going to be a combination, and you mentioned it in your first intervention, combining device, edge, cloud compute, and all of that combined could help reduce the use of energy. As well, there will be more, I would say, innovation, but from where we sit, this is what we are seeing. In addition to the tech part that I mentioned, I believe in Europe, we do have a lot of strengths that we can leverage as well to meet those goals. The first one, the centralized infrastructure like the AI gigafactories are going to be very important to address those challenges. As well, industrial and edge AI deployment with diverse applications. As an example, you might have a gigafactory in one region that will say, okay, I'm going to dedicate all the workload in this specific use case. Let's say defense, or let's say healthcare. So that could as well, balance a little bit all the traffic. And the most important one, the talent base that we do have, and all the university work and all the work that the member states are doing to attract talent, finance talent. All of that will contribute to answer to your question. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Audrey. And now, Manuel, turning to you. I would say let's take a step back, and you mentioned before simplification, the opportunities to accelerate investments. And I would just like to ask, how will the Commission work with member states also to ensure that there's execution on the ground? And maybe where do you see the biggest success factor in ensuring that CADA's provisions on data centers are effectively implemented? And of course, when I mention member states, we have also Minister Calafatis here. So happy to hear from you.
So the way we intend to do is maybe, let me start with what is not what is a bit boring but essential, which is we will first of all do monitoring. You cannot do proper policy without monitoring, and there's thousands of sources of data center capacity in Europe, but with dubious methodology. So we now did it once for the impact assessment of the Cloud and AI Development Act. We intend to renew this methodology year over year to be able to guide public policies at European level, and in particular to look at this, at the two dimensions I was mentioning earlier. What's the demand, what's the European capacity, and then where there are gaps for local needs. I think what is very important as well is, and what we will do is, the best practices are known, but are not known yet by everyone. And I think it's really essential that we spread the good word that some regions have been putting there. I'm thinking on a public authority point of view. But I'm thinking as well of the best practices on the data center industry itself. You were alluding to it without maybe daring to use the word, but there is a growing impression in some parts, not yet everywhere, that this idea of not in my backyard syndrome of data centers, I don't want them, but they give you all your mobile TV, digital services. Okay, they're needed, but not there. No. And I think part of the reason is, and this is very much, I think, not something you can put in a piece of law, but it's something that needs to come from the industry, is to say, what do we do as an industry to be better perceived? Is it so difficult next to a data center to add an extra couple hundred square meters of co-working space? Is it so difficult to partner with a university and sublease them a few racks at a better price for their research projects? Is it so difficult to partner with local primary and secondary school and organize school visits? I mean, those are the things that I think, again, cannot come, are very local and circumstantial, but would go a huge way. And in the roadblocks that you were asking about, I think this is one that the industry needs to come forward with.
Thanks very much, Manuel. And now turning to you, Minister. I also mentioned before about opportunities for public-private cooperation. I would just like to give you the final word to comment maybe what are your reflections from this discussion until now.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Well, dear friends, the European Commission, through the Cloud and AI Development Act, CADA, sets an ambitious but necessary goal: tripling data center capacity in Europe to safeguard our digital sovereignty. We share this goal, and we plan to turn it into reality in Greece as well. However, this rapid expansion brings us face to face with a major challenge. How can we grow without overburdening our energy grids and climate targets? The answer lies in action through the twin transition, the simultaneous digital and green transition. In Greece, we are proving that this is possible, can be happening. The major data center project of PPC in Kozani is in the western part of the northern part of Greece, I believe is a European model. What we did there, it's being developed actually, this project, in the heart of a region undergoing a just transition away from lignite, is directly connected to clean, renewable energy sources. It integrates the highest standards of circular economy and energy efficiency, and it's being implemented by the country's largest energy company. To succeed in this international race, however, Europe needs an outward-looking approach. As Minister of Development, we have already built bridges and strong alliances with global technology leaders like OpenAI, Mistral AI, Microsoft, Google. These partnerships, however, are strategically designed to align with European values, strengthen the European technology stack, and bring added value to our local economy, supporting our own businesses. And here is the critical role of legislation comes in. The implementation of the EUA Act must be guided by innovation with a human-centric face. We do not need regulatory gaps, nor do we need bureaucratic bottlenecks that strangle the market. Our goal is a state that is more effective and at the same time more investment-friendly. A framework that will allow domestic, small and medium-sized enterprises in Greece and Europe and our dynamic startup ecosystem to innovate, grow and compete in an equal footing globally. In closing, tripling European technological power is not just a matter of infrastructure. It is a matter of confidence in our own capabilities. And Greece, on the road to the 2027 presidency, is ready to play a leading role in this common European effort. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Minister. I will need to wrap up now as we're running out of time. But I think I picked up a few things from this discussion. We've discussed sovereignty, competitiveness, sustainability, and investments, all I would say coming together under one umbrella. And we've also heard today that there are ingredients already there. We've heard local practices from the member states, also industry innovating across the board, from computing to energy to connectivity, the equipment. And I think what is also clear is that no single actor can get there alone. This really requires robust public-private partnership. And I think that's a very interesting element that I picked up from this discussion. So thank you to all the panelists joining, and thank you all for joining us.
Thank you.